Hey guys, I hope you're all enjoying this little podcast I've started with my son. We're having a lot of fun talking to some old friends and hopefully looking to expand into talking to other recording artists and stuff like that, as I've said before. Um, Before we get into the video, I'd really like if everybody could like, share, and subscribe, help the channel grow. We had some problems recording this one. We recorded it with our good friend Daryl Ralph with Bonds and Mara, and there were some editing issues, and we're working on that. You're going to see this interview in two parts, so please watch it all the way through. Daryl gets into some really good stuff, and I think you're all going to like it. Leave your comments below. Follow Daryl. All his links will be in the description. So with that, let's get into the video. Hey guys, welcome back to for the record. We are in lost for words, but if you would have known this man 20, 30 years ago, you would have said he had the drumming ability of Neil Peart and the attitude and energy of Keith Moon or Tommy Lee. We're talking to the drummer from Bonds of Mar, a good friend of mine, Daryl Ralph. Daryl, how are you today?
How you doing, man? That was a pretty high standard that you put me at there.
Well, you know, Daryl, you always had anybody who knew you knew that you had the focus, right? It was all or nothing. You're an all or nothing guy with everything you do. To our listeners, if they wanted to get see what you're all about, Daryl's the drummer in Bonds of Mara. He's also the drummer for Sons of Butchers, correct, Daryl?
Sons of Butcher,
Yeah.
yes.
And you also have a YouTube channel with your wife where you do acoustic duets, correct?
Well, that was like that's funny. We have a bunch of views that when we first met, we were just making YouTube videos just as a joke, and it kind of took off.
So Matt has a great picture of you, Daryl. He's going to put that up now.
Oh, yeah.
That's the intensity, man. You go see Bonds of Mara, that's what you get.
Yeah.
That is all out, big guy. So we're going to sit here. We're going to talk records. We're going to change the format a bit because, you know, Daryl has a lot more to say and a lot more musical influences, I guess. You know, I think of when I think of Daryl, I think of the movie Rocky. When you hear that somebody gets knocked down and gets up every time, that's this man. This man has struggled and has gone through things. Again, that's all I can say.
Well, that's funny that you brought up Rocky because you told me I was going to be doing this last week, and so it is an interesting concept. I love this concept because it really does make you think back to your early childhood, the feelings that music brought, the thoughts of the day, who were your influences. We were super impressionable, and I did realize that like most of my first vinyls were movie soundtracks, and Rocky was massive. Like just the first and the second. My grandmother must have went and saw that movie 7 times because she'd always be, "What movie do you want to go see?" "Rocky 2."
Yeah, you beat the piss out of me about 40 times after every time you saw it. So
sorry, man.
happens. Somebody had to be your punching bag, I guess.
Hey, I remember a baseball bat in there somewhere. So don't you go talking.
I was like, I won't even go there.
we fought like brothers that loved and hated each other.
We did. But you know what, Daryl? Like, even when we were talking last week, we were talking about things, and like, again, your memory probably isn't as sharp as mine, but I remember sitting up in that room in your house and listening to Shout at the Devil for the very first time, Rat, Round and Round, like those were the things, and I can even remember them back then. You telling everybody, "I'm going to be the next Tommy Lee."
I must have been pretty cocky, eh? A cocky little kid.
But what else I remember, I can remember going over to your home like on a Friday night, like we were probably about 10 or 11 or something like that, and hearing like your parents play the Bee Gees and other things in your home. Like you came from a home where music was playing every day.
That was yeah, and I didn't even realize my mom for a while, but yeah, my mom even cut a vinyl with her sister. Back in the day, it was like Mr. Sandman, that kind of stuff. But my mom was always singing, and like I kind of wrote that down. Like my first single that we got was the Bee Gees' "Staying Alive." We got it from a Hostess chip bag. Do you remember?
I remember that. Yeah.
So that kind of took to me, and then I don't know because I didn't go out and buy it, but I do remember Kiss "Alive," and I don't even know which one, but I just remember Kiss speaking to us, and I do like that picture that you have up right now because that kind of ties in with like I do believe Crew kind of looked at Kiss, and you can see the similarities there, and
Kiss, Alice Cooper.
Yes, exactly, man. Like that shit speaks to a male in particular, like just aggression, and you're just growing up. There's tons of testosterone running through your body.
Yeah, for sure.
You're that's speaking to you. Let's go, and blood, and heavy guitars and bashing the drums, and that's the thing. Like when you'd say, I don't think I was like, hey, I'm going to be the next Tommy Lee because I'm like so cocky and I'm as good as him or anything like that. But I think it was just a passion. It was in me. Like throughout my life, music has brought me my highest highs and my lowest lows. And whenever I've tried to walk away from it, I get miserable. No matter how low it takes me, I get miserable. I need music in my life, right? And I need, in particularly, to play music.
Well, I don't know whether you were listening to Pete and I last week. We were talking about how we would jam at our place, and we'd be like just working our way through Last Caress. And then we'd stop. I'd go for a cigarette or something like that. And we'd hear you and John across the street playing like Master of Puppets or Blackened note for note. And you were probably only 17, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know if it was note for note, but we try. But that's the thing, though. Like, never undersell you guys too. The whole neighborhood was this. Like, think of who came out of that neighborhood. Like, like Teenage Head came out of there, and Forgotten Rebels. Like, I mean, it's a musical neighborhood before we were even there, and it probably still is even after. Like,
sure.
I don't know what it is about Westdale area, but.
That and the Stony Creek area, right? Because that's where you get Varga from, Svengali.
Varga, there you go. That was they were huge on me. Like they weren't super big at the time. They went on and did pretty good. But that was very influential because it was kind of guys that were a little bit, we were here and they were, well, technical wise, they were there, but you could kind of see it. It made it seem like it was attainable.
Varga, me and Pete went to see Varga a couple of years ago with your buddies in Rebel Few.
Oh yeah, great guy.
I'm telling you, both bands just blew me away. The polish, the ability, just the musical ability, right? The capability of it all.
Yeah, but you know what though? When you hang out and we're all behind our instruments and we're just playing, it doesn't matter where you are. You turn back into you guys playing Last Caress. That's all it is. It doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter where you are. The reason we play music or music is so personal to us is because it does. It takes us. They tell you never grow up, right? Well, I guess you have to kind of grow up and be a little bit responsible or like live, with love and respect other people. So like, don't be a kid your whole life because kids have a tendency to not be the most respectful. We're pretty selfish when we're kids. But what I think they mean by never grow up and always keep that kid within you is never forget the
joys,
the joy of life, the pure. Just you forget all about time You forget about everything, and you just do what you love. Too many people make excuses these days as to why they can't do something. And if you truly love what you do, there's time in the day to do that, whether it be working out, taking care of your health, doing something, taking up a new hobby.
Yeah, habits are necessary.
Not a habit, a new hobby or a new, not a habit. Don't take a,
So,
but yeah, a new
well,
hobby, or, go meet some people or
well,
whatever.
that's part of the podcast, right? Like that's part of where this is coming from, Daryl. Music to me, and again, maybe in a later video I'll get into that, but music to me was like a safe haven, right? With whatever
Yeah.
was going on, and I'm sure it was for you too. You had a record you could put on that take you away from all that.
Oh, 100%, 100%. We have already mentioned a few of them, but I mean, and it also, like all of us, like, yeah, you kind of separate me and Johnny there, but we were all together. We were all buddies that just like, hey,
Sure.
man, like I could think back, like Doug was the Kiss guy, right? And Pete was getting it. He would always kind of introduce us to a little bit more heavier stuff. And,
Right.
you seem to kind of, if I had to pick what you like the most, well, you got 10,000 records now, you like everything, but like you were more of like the classic kind of guy, like the Alice
Very
Cooper.
much. Alice Cooper, The Who was a big one for me.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah. And that influenced me. Like,
And what I was always fascinated by the early Who, Daryl, and as a drummer, you'll appreciate it. Keith Moon's drumming style is different from anything else. He didn't like to use a hi-hat. In fact, on the first 5 records, he never used a hi-hat. And he would drum along like a surf drumming to the singer, not the bass. Like when you listen to early Who, it's like Dennis Wilson from the Beach Boys drumming.
yeah. Well, yeah. And he was always, sometimes he gets accused of overplaying and stuff, but I mean, that's him. You remember, he's like melodic, right? You remember all those fills and he's adding in. It's funny, actually. I just heard a podcast on the history of the drum set and actually, and those drummers were very much influenced by the swing drummers, right?
Right. That's where the double bass came from.
Double bass Louis Bellson, but the early drum kits didn't even, a hi-hat is an afterthought, which is funny because it's kind of like some people would say it's probably the most important piece, like it's kind of like your metronome, right? But it wasn't even a part. It was all open-handed, right? Open-handed meaning like this, and all of a sudden there's a lot of people trying to learn like to play left-handed, where you'll have left-handed drummers like Ringo playing on a right-handed kit.
Steve Nagus.
Who? Sorry?
Steve Nagus, Saga.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There you go.
And he's a monster behind a kid in his own right.
Yeah. And so that all became like, the hi-hat was down when it did first get introduced. It was probably, that's a Keith Moon probably like came from that era where he didn't have much use for the hi-hat.
Right. So, Daryl, like, you guys are recording, Bonds of Mara are trying to record a new album through all this.
We are trying.
But you guys got 2 songs out there. You got
Lights Out with...
Which is a great song. That's the one I steer myself to.
Yeah, it's a little heavier. And then Killed the Love.
That's it. I was thinking... I knew all the words in the name. I had them all over the place. So thank you for that.
And Dave, the bassist, he did both videos. He's a really talented photographer, videographer.
Nice.
So yeah, he was in Default. He still is in Default. He drives them nuts because everybody. He's the only one that's still in the band that he, toured around the world with and stuff. But he's still in Default. And yeah, but they took a hiatus a little bit and he had to figure out something else to do. So he got really, really awesome at videography and photography.
I've watched some of them actually, and I'm amazed. I'm really amazed with everyone in your band. But if somebody goes to listen to either of these 2 tracks or anything coming out what are we going to hear from you, Daryl? Like, what influence? Like, is somebody going to be able to say, that's a Tommy Lee fill? Or
So, like the album coming up, me personally, how am I going into that album?
Your styles, your influences.
Yeah. Okay, that's a great question because I noticed you asked Pete last week, what he's currently listening to.
We'll get there. We're gonna get to that.
Well, I think you kind of got there with this question.
Well.
Because basically, what I don't sit back. I mean, some bands will come out and I'll just be like, when we were younger, again, super impressionable, and you just kind of like Crew or everything, and it's all over your walls. And I mean, at 48, it's going to take a big, something brand new that to connect to. I just don't know if a 48-year-old do that. So I can sit back and say, oh my God, amazing. Like Rival Sons, Glorious Sons, or they have great songs and stuff. Am I going to go and like paste them all over my room and stuff?
No.
I'll go see them live, whatever I can. And so, but what I listen to is what I'm trying to learn, or grooves and stuff. So right now, like Jenny and I are going to be doing a thing with Brian soon. And so, some Tragically Hip, and I kind of like, holy smokes, you know what? A bunch of people in our school love Tragically Hip, but us, it was kind of like,
it was Metallica or nothing.
We were. You guys are preppies. We're headbangers. You guys listen to Duran Duran and U2, and Tragically Hip. I did like them, but I wasn't hanging them on my wall. But so going back, I kind of rediscovered Tragically Hip a bit. The Stones, more. And the reason I'm answering this question like this is because what I'm going for is swing, man. It's not a thing if it doesn't have that swing. So going
a good shuffle.
Man. But you got to realize though, now we're talking about Keith Moon again and John Bonham and all those drummers, those great drummers. Who were their influences? The swing guys, Buddy Rich
and stuff like that. Buddy Guy. Yeah.
Those were all the studio drummers of the day, and rock and roll came out. Little Richard, right? Coming out, he's playing eighth notes, dun 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 dun, stuff like that. But the drummers are all trying to put a swing behind that. So now you kind of have this. If you listen to Zeppelin, The Who, all that kind of stuff, you're gonna hear Ringo. They're swinging.
Yeah,
it's hidden behind like.
Guys, we're gonna get a performance here.
No, not a performance, but like, so like most people are thinking like AC/DC. Sorry. So like, right?
Yeah.
Like, so they're doing more like, it's all in a swinging kind of. Swinging with the bass drum, swinging with the hi-hat. Still the backbeat of the 2 and 4, but like that's what I'm working on, just locking right into that groove. Because we're going into that studio and we're recording. It's no triggers here, no programmed drums. We're doing it live. Bonds of Mars doing everything. We're going in with the mindset. Whatever we're pulling off in a studio, we're pulling it off with 4 guys live on stage.
Well, you're a band.
We're going back to, late 80s, early 90s, 70s kind of deal. Yeah.
Okay, so back to the records. You're a young man. You're listening to,
sorry, man. I went way off there.
It's all good. I love it. But, again, before we go any further, let me back up again. Bonds of Mara does not have a CD or an album coming out as of right now. They're working on it. When it comes out, I've arranged with Daryl to get 10 copies of his new CD. And if you're a listener and you want one, contact me and I'll arrange it for you. It's part of our goal here to promote new music and to help artists not make money, but get their art out there, Daryl. Like that's what I really want to do. I want the 20-year-old kid who's been still listening to rap to be turned on to something new, and vice versa. I'm hoping to have some artists that work more into country music or rap and stuff, and maybe turn them on to somebody else, right?
It's all good stuff, man. Yeah.
So let's go back. So you're listening to Mom and Dad. They're playing the Bee Gees, the Beach Boys, I'm assuming.
Beach Boy, Barry Manilow, Benny Good, all the swing. And I didn't realize that swing stuff was influencing my playing. Well, I wasn't even playing at the time, but it was getting it's in your head, right? They would force you to sit down and you guys got to listen to real music here. And, you know.
I remember a trip to Florida listening to Frank Sinatra and Sam Cooke all the way down to Florida, man. At the time, it was killer, but looking back, you know, there's some good memories in there.
Yeah.
Again, it was your sister that turned us on to the Beatles, because we would sit and listen to the Beatles forever.
Yes, yeah, you can't deny the Beatles. I mean, I try to think back as to why. Yeah, you always try to crack that code. I think everybody tries to crack the Beatles code. Like everything they did was just like most people like them. It's hard to find somebody that doesn't like the Beatles. However, that's kind of funny that you bring that up, because I said I'm rediscovering the Rolling Stones, and that was because like you're either picking, you know, the Beatles or the Stones, and for some reason, you know, you can't like both. That's how I was. I was just like, the Stones suck compared to the Beatles, you know.
It's funny. I liked the Beatles a lot when I was a kid, and then now I really like the Stones. I think you kind of grow into it and it changes.
Yeah. I just, to be honest, like, the twangy kind of guitar wasn't really pleasant to my ears, but they have a ton of awesome percussion, and the songwriting is undeniable. Amazing stuff.
And I think every generation, every music type has that. Is it Metallica or Megadeth?
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? And again, I love Metallica, but now I find I listen to more Megadeth over Metallica.
Yeah, and it goes in waves, and like, actually a few years ago, there was nothing but the Beatles. I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go deep into the Beatles, and you know what? They just make you feel happy.
Right. Right.
Just have that code.
And John, like, I'm more of a John Lennon. If I was to pick a Beatle, it was John Lennon. I loved his solo work. Not a big fan of Yoko singing, but she can sing better than me, so, you know.
Hey, artists are artists, Who are we to judge?
Well, there's no bad music. Like, if you can't do it, then it's not bad. Like, it takes an awful lot to write a song, perform a song, and put it out there for the public to digest.
True.
So there's no sense shitting on something that you don't have the ability to do or the courage to do.
Yeah. If you're not in the auditorium, then you don't have a say. Get in there and do it.
Okay, so we got the Beatles with your sisters, the Stones.
Well, I did write that down, actually. Influences from my brother were, well, we'll get to that because you brought up my sister. So Sabbath, believe it or not, she introduced me to Sabbath. I was young, and it scared the shit out of me. Like the cover, what was it? I think is it Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, where the girl's in the bed and that thing is coming out?
Right, yes.
Yeah. That scared the shit out of me. And Judas Priest, she liked those two. I think I do remember her playing like some Motley Crue videos, but she didn't. As a woman that respects herself, she didn't have much use for Motley Crue after a while.
Well, I remember you coming over to my place, and I was going through my sister's. Well, I had just bought a record, but I was going through my sister's collection. Had Teenage Head Frantic City, Zeppelin 4, Blondie, Styx, that type of stuff.
Yeah, Supertramp. Yeah, there you go.
And I had heard Sabbath. I think I probably heard it at your place being played. And I went out and bought a record. I may have been about 12, 13. and I picked up Mob Rules.
Oh yeah.
And you came over and we listened to it. And I remember being like kind of disappointed because it didn't sound like the Sabbath I heard at your house.
Yeah.
And it, maybe we can get into that in another video, and there's a good reason why. But it was just a different singer and a whole different band, really. So
Yeah, I mean the singer's pretty big to the sound of a band, right?
right.
Yeah.
And the ability between Ozzy and Dio is day and night.
It's yeah.
Both
It's
are great.
Yeah, two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we got the stuff your sister turned you on to. Now we have your brother.
So my brother, I liked some of the stuff because I was trying to get accepted by him. As me was obviously we got Rush, Clash. My sister Rush too. She had some. They like to put the vinyls on the wall, and I remember Permanent Waves was up there, and that's always just a killer tune. What else? Synchronicity, The Police. That was in heavy rotation over and over and over and over again. Like it was his record, but I was playing it too. Did I say The Clash?
We had mentioned the Clash, but
Men at Work. Men at Work was heavy rotation too.
yeah,
Land Down Under. How could you? What a fun song. Totally catchy. Top 10 at 10, number one, I think, for many, many months.
and you know what? Around this time, Daryl, what I remember, and I'm going to maybe embarrass you, and if your bandmates watch this, I want them to call you out on this. I really do. Around this time, Daryl was also listening to I'm trying to think, not Run DMC, all that. Daryl could break dance like nobody could back in the day.
Well, I have that down there, so you didn't embarrass me. And any chance I get to show off my breakdancing these days, I still try to do a backspin here and there, but I do it a little bit more careful because I'm going to break. Yeah. But you're right, though. So here we go back to the movie soundtracks. Breaking.
Right.
I was heavy. And Beat Street. Great.
We went to see that together.
Yes, and it wasn't. I was a little disappointed because I was more into the break-in. Right, again, it's either break-in or Beat Street, and
the Warriors.
The Warriors. There you go. And you know what? That's funny that you say that because what's the big song at the end?
Joe Walsh, In the City.
Yeah, great song. I always love that song. Bow, taka, bow, right?
Yeah.
And then, it says you got less than a minute here on your.
Okay.
You guys you guys got to get the paid version of Zoom.
Oh, we're gonna have to edit this out.
Yeah.
But go on, Matt will figure it all out.
Yeah, sure. So I just didn't want you to get cut off there. So that also reminds me of the Blues Brothers. I just watched that the other day, and that was all around the same. And again, swing. There's that swing and that funk, and that's all that I'm listening to lately. And I loved all those songs on that movie, and I was singing them word for word. You don't hear these songs
I love
for
that
years.
soundtrack. I absolutely love that. Down Child's Blues Band.
Yeah.
All that
Everybody's in it. Yeah, everybody's in that movie.
Right.
And all great stuff. Yeah.
You know what somebody turned me on to not long ago, Daryl, is probably right in the same thing, is Funkadelic. Parliament Funkadelic.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you a song or anything offhand, but I've heard. Yeah, Funkadelic. Yeah.
George.
Hey, all that stuff is just great to go back. That's good time grooving stuff.
Hey guys, I hope you all like that. Like I said, we did have some technical difficulties, but we're working on it. We're trying to get better with each video. So with that, I really hope you guys tune in next week. See part 2 with Daryl. Daryl goes a little bit deeper. talks about his writing, when the new album's going to come out. All things that I hope you all want to see and hear. I know I was really happy hearing about that. So again, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.